Hello everyone, welcome to channel Qtomation. Today we will see about one more type of drop down, that is hidden drop down. So far in our previous sessions we have seen different type of drop downs like basic drop down in which select tag is present, from which we can select single items. We have also seen bootstrap drop downs in which we can select multiple items as well. We have also seen drop downs where there are auto suggestions, and we have seen how to select element from auto suggest drop downs. Today we will see one more such type of drop down, that is hidden drop down. What is exactly hidden drop down? Sometimes we encounter a drop down, and when we click on that drop down it shows drop down values. But when you try to inspect any value from that drop down, then all the values disappears. That is called as a hidden drop down. We cannot inspect element directly in hidden drop down. We will not see any drop down values in HTML as well. So that's why it becomes very tricky to inspect such drop down elements, because in hidden drop down options are not visible by default. The drop down's visibility is controlled via CSS with some properties like display equals to none, visibility can be hidden, or opacity can be 0, or there can be other mechanism as well, because of which drop down values remains hidden, and they will only visible only if you are performing some actions on that drop down. For example, hover action or click action. In that condition only they becomes visible. Because of this reason it becomes very challenging to inspect drop down elements. So whenever we are writing automation script, and if you want to select any element from visible drop down, we have to first inspect that drop down value. But if it is hidden drop down, then it becomes very difficult to inspect the drop down values because they are not directly visible on the web page. But nowadays we can use modern browsers which provide some tools and techniques by which we can inspect those values as well. We can use debugger, or we can pause the JavaScript execution. I will show you how to do that. We can use the debugger statement, or we can also add a breakpoint in the event handler responsible for showing the dropdown. And when the dropdown elements become visible, we can easily inspect those. So I will show you one of such technique by which we can inspect hidden dropdown options as well. But before that, let me show you what is hidden dropdown and what is challenges while inspecting such dropdown. We will see this example as well. So I am just opening the Chrome browser in which we have opened this website. This is one of the demo HRM website. They have provided credentials as well. So I am just entering some credentials to login. I am just clicking on login. Same action we are going to do via automation script as well. So once you log in, you can see this portal. On this orange HRM dashboard, I will click on PIM. So PIM, this is the option I am going to click. After clicking this option, you can see some drop downs here. There is one of such drop down that is called as a job title. If you see these drop down options, there are different type of titles which are available. For example, accountant assistant, automation tester, chief executive officer, chief financial officer, and so on. I want to select one of the option from this drop down. But let's see what is the challenge here. So in previous examples we have seen when we selected any element from drop down values, what we have to do, we have to first identify this field. We have to first identify the locator for this job title. Then we have to click on this, and after clicking on this, we have to click one of the drop down value. But for that we have to find out the X path or any other type of locator which will identify all these drop down items. If you inspect it, it will not have any select tag or options tag. But we have to still identify such locator for one of the option, and then using that locator we can identify all these options. But first we have to inspect this element. So what we have done previously, we used to go here and we right click on this and we used to inspect the element. But if same action if I am doing here, as soon as I right click, if you see, as soon as I right clicked, the drop down got closed. Drop down values got closed. And it is showing me this pop-up. If I click on inspect, and if I see the elements, I cannot see any drop down elements here. If you see, I cannot see any drop down elements because they are hidden currently. That's why I'm not able to see any drop down values or any drop down elements so far. So it becomes very tricky because I have to select one of the option. For that I need to inspect that element and find out some locator for that. But if my drop down is not visible, then how can I select the value from that drop down? So that is the main challenge of hidden drop down. All these options are hidden currently. So what we should do? So for that, in development tools, in Chrome browser tools, we have some options by which we can perform that action, or we can make these options visible as well. We can pause the execution of code, and we can pause these drop down values here, and then we can inspect those values. For that, what we have to do is we have to use this function. So we have to open the console, and in that console we have to put this function, or we can say this command. What it will do is set timeout function. So this debugger statement is used for debugging purpose. When the JavaScript code execution reaches to this statement, it will pause the execution, allowing you to inspect the code, variables, and execution context in the development tools of a browser or a debugging environment. It is a delay of 4 seconds which we have added. After 4 seconds, the callback function will be executed. At that moment, the debugger statement will trigger and pausing the execution, and we can easily inspect the drop down values. What we are going to do, we are going to run this code in browser with developer tools open. It will stop the execution at the debugger statement after 4 seconds. It is fine if you don't understand, that is also fine. Just see the way we are doing this. So we have to use this function, or we can say a statement. I am just copying this statement, and this one we have to use in development console. So what I will do, I am just going to Chrome browser. Here I will just open console. In this console, just pay attention what we are going to do. So when we tried by clicking these options, and if I want to inspect it, if I right click straight away, it will vanish. It is not allowing me to inspect. But for that, what I will do now, in the console, I have to paste this statement, set timeout. So if you see, set timeout function, in which we are passing the debugger, 4000 seconds delay, and then we have to press the enter. After pressing the enter, you can simply select this value and just go on your drop down value and click on the value. It is actually paused. So let me just resume that debugger. Let's go to console one more time. Let's increase the timeout by some time. So instead of 4000, I am just giving 7000. Let's execute by pressing enter. Select this icon and select the job title. After 7 seconds, it will pause the execution. So if you see, at this stage, it is basically paused the execution. That's why we have entered 7 seconds. So after 7 seconds of entering that specific statement in console, after 7 seconds, it paused the execution. Now we have immediately clicked on that drop down, and we are able to see the drop down values here. and we are in pause state currently. If you see, we are paused in debugger. So currently we are in pause state. So after pausing this, after giving this pause, now I can try to inspect the drop down value. And then we will use the normal approach which we have used in our previous sessions as well. We can identify the locator for any one of the option. Then we can capture all these options in one of the variable. And then we can iterate through. We can check the text, and as soon as our text matches, we can select that value. So let's say in this example, I want to select value of IT manager. I want to select IT manager value. So let me inspect that value. So let me inspect by selecting inspector, IT manager. And now if you see in our element section, we can see all the drop downs value are present. Where are these values? If you see IT manager, this is one of the drop down value. If you see IT manager, below that there is another drop down value, network administrator. Below that another drop down value, that is payroll administrator. So all the drop down values are now visible. Now we can inspect it and we can find out the X path or any locator which will locate all these drop down values. And then we can store all those values in one constant or variable. And from that constant or variable in which we have stored all this value, we can iterate, we can use for loop in which we will fetch one by one the values from that, and we can compare the text of that values. If that text matches with IT manager, we are going to click on that option. So that is the normal approach which we have seen in our previous sessions as well. Only challenge with hidden drop down was we are not able to inspect that value to find out the locator. Once you find out that locator, it becomes very easy to select that value. So our main task is completed by using set timeout. Now if I see, I have to just find out the locator for this. So let me write some XPath. So if you see, it is present inside the span, which is present inside this div tag. And if you see role equals to option, so this is the attribute. It is present inside the div tag in which role equals to option. In that we have to go to span value to extract this text. So let me just write out the XPath for this. 2 times slash div tag at the rate role equals to option. So it is able to identify. After that we have to enter to span values. So it is able to identify 31 values so far. Let's see. If you see 1 out of 31. So first value, this is the second value. Shift enter. If you press shift enter, it will show you the first value. That is the account assistant. If I press enter, it will show you second value, automation tester. Third value, that is chief executive officer. Fourth value, fifth value, sixth value, seventh value, eighth value, ninth value. Up to all these 31 value it will identify. If you see, I'm just quickly pressing now. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 8, 9, 30 and 31. So all these 31 values are getting captured in this specific locator. So I will just copy this locator. Let me just copy and paste here. What I will do is I am just copying that locator. So this is our locator which will capture, basically it will capture all drop down values. So this was the main challenge with the hidden drop down. If you get this locator, our half of the work is already done. Now we can just regularly write our script. So let me just write out the script now. What I will do, I will create a new file. Let's create a new file, hidden underscore drop down dot spec dot js. So we have created a new file. In this file, let me just copy one of the previous example. I am just pasting it here. Let me just remove the part which we don't need. So we have created a test block. Let me just remove this part as well. Okay, so now we can write our script. So we have created a test block. In this, let me just write the code now. The first statement is await page dot go to. We have to put the URL which we want to open. So which is the URL here? This is the URL which we will open first. I am just copying it. Let's put that URL. It will launch the browser. It will open that URL. After opening that URL, you have to perform login. So what I will do, I will just close this as of now. But before that, let's find out the locator which we want to locate on this page as well. Or we can find out later as well. I'm just logging out. So let me just log out from here. We will again see one by one action. So we are on the login page now. Once I log out, I will land on this login page. Let's find out locator for username field, password field and login button as well. So let me inspect this. Select the inspector. Go to username field. Input tag is present. We can use any attribute like name or placeholder. I'm just going to use name. So let's write XPath. Input @ name equals to username. It will identify the username field. If you see, it is highlighting the username field. I am just copying this XPath. Let's go to our script. Await page dot go to, not go to but page dot locator. In this we have to pass this locator which we have used for username, and we have to pass the value in that. So what is the value we want to pass? Admin. Similarly for password as well. Await page dot locator. We have to find out locator for password dot fill dot, what is the password? Admin123. Here we have to enter password because we want to find out locator for this password field. If you inspect this password field, you will see type equals to password, name equals to password. So I am using name equals to password. It will identify the password field. So I am just using this locator in our script. Then you have to click on this login button. So it is having button tag type equals to submit. Button tag type equals to submit. So if you use this button tag @ type equals to submit. So this is the XPath for login button. It will identify the login button. So I am just copying this XPath. Control C. Let's go to our script. Let's write await page dot locator, in which we have to pass locator for login button, and we have to click on that button. Then only it will perform the login action. So at what point we have reached so far? We are entering the admin as a username. Then we are going to enter admin123 as password. Then we are going to click on this login button. So let's click on this login button. It will perform the login. It will log into dashboard. As soon as it goes to dashboard, which option we want to click now? This PIM option. So let's try to find out some locator for this PIM. If you see, if I highlight that element, it is present inside the anchor tag. Let me just highlight one more time. If you see PIM, anchor tag, we can use this class attribute. Let me just copy this class attribute. Control C, Control F, 2 times / anchor tag, in which it is present @ class equals to. If you see now, it is identifying multiple elements. So what we will do, we can use text method as well. So I can use, instead of this, let's say I am just going to use directly by text method. So anchor tag text method equals to, what is the text which is displayed for PIM. So now if you see, Let me just quickly check out. Let me just identify one more time. Yeah, it is not, it is present inside span. So if you see, let me just quickly explore this element one more time. So it is present inside the span tag. So text is present inside the span. Let me just highlight one more time. I want to click on this pim. So if you see, it is present inside this span tag. If you see pim here, PIM text is present inside span tag. If you see, pim is present inside this span tag. So how to write XPath? 2 times / span tag. Then we can use text method. Text equals to PIM. And now if you see, when I hit enter, it is able to identify that PIM text. So once you identify that, we can click on that. I'm just copying this locator. Then I will write await page dot locator. In this I will pass that XPath, which will identify that PIM text, and then we can click on that. It will click on that link. So once it will click on that, what will happen? It will land to our page where drop downs are present. So now we are on the page where drop downs are present. Now once you reach on this page, what is the next step? We want to click on this hidden drop down. Once you click on this, then only all those options becomes visible. So what is the locator for this job title drop down? Let's inspect this. If you see, we are inspecting it and it is highlighting this. So if you see div tag, and this is the class name. I am just copying the class name along with the div tag. So let's try to find out. So I'm just copying this class name. Let's copy this class name. Control F. 2 times / div tag to identify the XPath. I am just writing the XPath now. Class equals to the value which we have copied. I am just pasting it here. If you see, it is identifying total 1, 2, 3, 4 elements. So there must be more than one drop downs. Obviously, if you see this XPath, let me just use this XPath. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. First one, second one, third one, fourth one. First one, second one, third one is the job title. So index starts with 0. So this is present at 0, 1, second index. This is third index. This is 0 index, first index, second index. So third means it is present on second index. So it will identify third index, 0 index, first index, second index. So it is present on second index. So I am just copying this XPath. Let's write the code await page.locator. In this page.locator, this is the XPath which is pointing to multiple elements. Total 4 elements it is pointing. Our drop down is present on second index. So I will just use .nth. We have to pass 0. On which index our drop down is present? Again, let's see. 0 index, first index, second index. So second index. Nth of 2 dot click. We want to click on that. So it will click on that drop down. So once this drop down is clicked, what is the next step? It will open these options we have already captured. If you see at the start of this, we have already captured one locator which will identify all these text element. But let me again try to find out. So what is the step we have done to identify this? We have to go to console. Then we have used this set timeout function. Press enter. Select this. Select the drop down. And now if you see, it will pause the execution. After 7 seconds, it is paused. Now again, I want to identify this locator element. I will just select inspector, select one of this value. If you see now, all these drop down values are visible here. Executive officer and rest of the values as well. So we can find out locator for one of such option. We want to find out IT manager. So what we will do, we want to click on this IT manager value. So I want to click on this IT manager. So I will first try to identify the locator. So we have already identified. If you see, this is the locator which we have identified. This is the locator because it is inside the div tag. Inside the div tag, inside there is a span tag. We want to capture this text. Content specialist is one of the option in drop down. We want to find out the text for those. So this is present inside the span tag. Span tag is present inside the div tag. So if you write the XPath like this, 2 times / div tag @role equal to option. So if you see role equal to option, and inside that we have to capture the span tag, and inside that we have to capture this span tag. So that's why we have used this locator. If you see, which is identifying all the 31 drop down values. So it is capturing all the 31 drop down values. So we are going to capture all this value. I'm just using this locator here. It is pointing to multiple values. Let's go to our code. So after opening, what we can do, we can write like this: await page dot 2 times $, because we are capturing multiple element handles. In this we have to pass that locator, and we can store these values in one of the constant variable. Let's say we are storing it in one of the constant which we are going to define. Let's say I'm just naming it as role options equal to await page dot 2 times $, to capture the multiple values, because this XPath is pointing to multiple web element. So it will capture all those options in role options. After capturing here, now we can use one for loop. Inside this for loop, I'm going to define one variable. Let's say let one single role option of role underscore options. So this is the role options. From this we are going to capture one by one value inside this role option. So we are capturing, I'm just writing the for loop now. So what we are going to do here is, one by one in for loop, we are going to get one of the option of this role options inside this role option. So what I will do, I will just define one more constant, role option underscore text equals to role underscore option dot text content method, which will fetch the text. So from that locator, so from this role options in for loop, we are going to fetch one by one every option, and from that role option we are going to fetch the text content that will be stored inside this role option text. That will be stored inside this role option text, and then we can print those value as well. So I will just print those value first. Console dot log role option text. So it will print all the values which are present in drop down in console. So let me save this. And let me use await wait for timeout. Wait for timeout. I'm just adding 5 seconds timeout before closing the page. Await page dot close. So now if I execute this file, what it will do? It will launch this URL. It will perform login action. It will go to PIM repository, PIM option, where drop downs are visible. It will click on that role option drop down. It will store the option in role options. Then we are using for loop. Every loop, in every iteration, it will fetch one by one value from this role options to role option. We are fetching the text now. From every value, text will be fetched and stored in role option text, and then we are print that role option text in our console. So ideally, if I execute this file now, we will be able to see all the options which are present in that drop down in our console. So let's save this file, and let's execute this file to check whether our values from the drop down are getting printed or not. So now I will just going to execute by using npx playwright test. File name which we want to execute, hyphen hyphen headed, so that it will be executed in UI mode, hyphen hyphen project equals to chromium. Let's execute this file now. So it will launch the browser, it will open this URL, it will log in with admin credentials, it will go to PIM, it will click on the drop down, and it will print all the drop down values of role options drop down. It will open the browser. After opening this browser, if you see, it is opening the URL of that page. I think something went wrong. Let's see. Okay, so some minor syntax mistake is there. Let me just correct it. So this dot apply is not needed here. I am just saving this again. And let's execute this file one more time. Let's execute this file one more time. So it will launch the page. It will launch the page now. It will launch the URL. Open that web page. It will perform the login. So now it is launching the web page. It is performing the login action. After login, it will click on PIM. If you see, drop down is clicked and all those drop down values are displayed. And in our console also, all these values should be printed. If you see if it is able to print all those values. Okay, so some mistake is there. So let me just quickly check. So one mistake might be when we are clicking on that drop down, if you see, when you click on this drop down, there might be some time which is required to load these options. There might be some time which will be needed to load those options. So what we will do, we will add one condition in our code that after clicking on this drop down, let me just pause this. So after clicking on this drop down, I want to wait for some time, or we can add some wait, or we can check if the drop down elements are loaded or not, then only perform the console.log action. So what I will do, so where we are capturing all those value, here we are capturing all those value. So what I will do, I will just use one more statement before the capturing of those values. I will use await page dot wait for selector, and which selector we are going to wait for is, this is the selector. So until this selector is appeared, we have to wait for this selector to appear, and once this appears, then only we are going to capture this value inside these role options. Then only we will capture those value inside those options. Now let's save this file and let's execute again this time. So let's execute the same file again. Let's see this time what happens. Ideally it should print all those value in our console. So now if you see, let's execute this file one more time. It will launch the browser. It will launch the browser. It is opening the page. After opening this page, it will perform the login with admin. If you see, it is able to log in. It will click on the PIM, then it will click on the drop down of job title. All the values are displayed in the drop down on UI, but it should capture all those values. If you see now, in our console, all the values from that drop down are printed. All the 31 values from this drop down are able to print. That means we are successfully able to capture this value. We are successfully able to fetch the text from those value. If you see, these are all the values of those drop down. Job title drop down. If you see, this is the job title drop down values which we are able to print on our console. Now our most of the work is already done. Now what we are going to do, we have to just add one if condition. Which value you want to select? IT manager. I want to select IT manager. I'm just copying that value. I want to select IT manager value. So what I will do, now instead of printing all the values, I will just comment this. I will just add one if loop, if condition, if role option dot text, if this role option text includes, if that value includes IT manager, then we have to simply click on this role option. Then we have to simply role option dot click. So what we have to do is we have just added one if condition that if role option text includes IT manager, then we just have to click on that role option. I am just saving this file now. Now if you execute this file, it should successfully select IT manager from drop down. So let me clear the console, or we can simply execute the file one more time. This time it should successfully select the value from job title drop down as a IT manager. It should successfully select the value of IT manager from job title drop down. So we have executed, we are executing this step now. So it will start the execution. It is running our test using one worker. It is launching the web page. Once the web page is launched, it will open the URL. After opening this URL, it will perform login with admin credentials. It will click on PIM. It will select the drop down. It will check all the options. It will fetch the text and it should select the IT manager. But after clicking, it is able to successfully, let me just quickly check what happened. Some mistake is there. So let me quickly check. Role option text includes IT manager, or let's say I'm just adding await statement here. Let me save this file one more time. Let me increase the timeout as well so that we will be able to see it. 10,000 seconds I am adding. And now let's again execute this file one more time. Let's execute this file one more time. So let's execute it. It will launch the page again. It is launching our test. It is running the test. It will launch the URL. After launching the URL, it will perform the login with admin. After login with admin, it will click on PIM option. Then it will click on drop down and it should select IT manager value from the drop down. Somehow it is not able to. Let me just quickly check out. Let's remove this await statement. Also, let's try to print one more time all the values. And let's execute this file one more time. So it is executing the file currently. It is launching the page. It will click on the PM option. It is selecting the options here. It is printing the value, but it is not able to click on that. Why it is not able to click? Can you spot the mistake? There is a small mistake which we have done here, that is role option dot click. Here we have to use dot click method. We have not used this parenthesis. So I am just saving this file. It was a minor mistake. Let's execute this file one more time. So such mistake sometimes happens when you write the automation script. So we have to go through the code. We have to understand what we are doing it wrong. And this happens whenever you practice more and more, right? So let me execute this file one more time. Now if you are able to see, it should select the drop down value as a IT manager from that drop down. So it is launching the page. After launching this page, it will open the URL. It will log in with admin credentials. It is clicking on job title, and if you see, IT manager is selected correctly. If you see, IT manager value is selected now. And now page will close. Test case is already passed. Page will close. Now instead of IT manager, I want to select some other value. Let's say I want to select QA lead. So I will just copy this value. We can simply put that value here. I'm just putting value of QA lead. So from that drop down, it should select QA lead now. So if I execute this file now, it will select QA lead. Now if I execute this file, it will select the value of QA lead from the drop down. So let's execute this file one more time. Now it should select value of QA lead. So let's execute this file one more time. Let's save this. We have not saved the file, so let's save this and let's execute it. So now when this file will be executed, it will select the value of QA lead. It should select the QA lead from drop down. So it is launching the web page. After launching the web page, it will perform the login action with admin. It will click on login. It will click on PIM. It is selecting QA lead option correctly. So this means our approach is working perfectly with hidden drop down. We are able to select options. The main challenge was inspecting it. That we have seen already how to inspect by using set timeout in console. So this is the code which we can see here. So let's revise one more time. So let me show you this code one more time so that you can copy it or you can explore it more. So this is how we can handle hidden drop down. So let's revise quickly. So what was the hidden drop down? So we have seen all the different type of drop downs like basic drop down, bootstrap drop down, auto suggest drop down. Hidden drop down is also one of the drop down. But only challenge in hidden drop down is the drop down values are not easy to inspect. The values disappears suddenly when you try to inspect those. We will not see drop down values in HTML code as well. Hidden drop down is not visible by default. It is controlled by some additional properties like displaying none, visibility hidden, or opacity 0. So to inspect such drop down elements, we have to use some technique and tools. So nowadays modern browsers provide such technique. So we have to use this set timeout debugger function. We are just copying it, and in our console, when you are in console, you just have to copy this function, execute this function, then click on job title drop down, and once you open this drop down, after 7 seconds execution is paused, 4 seconds, and then we can inspect easily. So if you now inspect it in console, we are able to see all the options, and now we can find out the XPath and we can use that XPath in our code as well. So that is the main challenge with handling hidden drop downs, and this is how we can resolve it. So once you resolve it, we can easily handle just like normal way. We can use for loop. We can extract the text for those options. We can compare those value. And if your value matches with your expected option, we can click on those value. So that is the concept of handling hidden drop downs. So when you are executing or when you are automating the script, especially with hidden drop downs, we can use this approach. So I hope you like this video. I hope you have understood how to handle hidden drop downs, how to check elements from hidden drop down, and not just hidden drop down, but also other type of drop downs as well. So that's the end of this drop downs related sessions, guys. In the coming session, we will see some more web elements which we can handle, how to handle, like checkboxes, radio buttons, and many other elements that we will see in coming session. So thank you for watching this video.